Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. We made it. It's the end of another week and the start of another great episode here. Thank you all for joining. We have Douglas, Isaac, some fellow consistent followers and guests of the show. I appreciate every one of you as you come in. Thank you all for taking the time to be here. We have a very special guest in Ken, and he is going to be talking about his professional journey, his what's going on at Crossmint, and so much more. So before we get into this, folks, just wanted to go over some house rules. This is a safe space. Everyone can collaborate. You can ask questions. There's no topic or anything that's too silly, or don't be shy to chime in the conversation, but we do want to make sure that we are going to avoid anything that is directly related to financial advice. That's the one thing that we do avoid here. And if it's probably a little bit too controversial for a family dinner, it might be a little bit too spicy here, but we do like to keep things fun and the conversation flowing, no doubt. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Ken to the show. How's it going, Ken? How's your day going so far?
It's going well. Trev, I thought you liked spiciness, but I'll keep it
No,
PG.
no, no, no. We can have a little bit of spiciness, but not too high on the Scoville count there. But
Okay, for sure.
yeah, thank you so much for coming in. So, Ken, let's kind of talk about it here. Let's go back, jump right into it because I know your time is limited. So, let's kind of go back a little bit into, I would say, 2017. Paint us the picture. Where were you? What was your mindset like, and how did you become interested in this space that we are in here now?
Yeah, thank you for bringing me on this. Super excited to chat with you and just share a little bit about my journey. So, I started my journey in 2017. I actually learned about Bitcoin way earlier, but like many people, didn't buy enough, didn't buy
Of
like
course.
always looking back, it's like I should have done more. I should have bought more. So what fascinated me about that space was the ideology and the philosophy behind it. If anybody out there listened to Andreas Antonopoulos, like he really got me
Yeah,
into the ideas of Bitcoin
yeah,
and like economic ideas of like ownership and empowerment. So that's why I got started. And then during 2017, basically the ICO boom was happening and everyone in office was dabbling in ICOs. And so that gave me an excuse to really dive in and started playing around in the space. And I stuck around ever since through many cycles, many ups and downs.
And what would you
So
say kind of initially just, finding out about those cycles, the ups and downs, because some people may be a little bit newer here and they're experiencing things for the first time here and they're also trying to transition to the space. And this is, when you were just getting into it and kind of forming your conceptions and mindset around the industry. So what were some of the things that you learned about then that still led you to be have that conviction and want to, actually make that transition into the industry professionally?
yeah, I think what really made me stuck around. And if I think about that time, like a lot of my friends were dabbling in ICOs and dropped 95%, 99% overnight. And I always think about why did I stick around? And one of the core reasons was there's just so much interesting things happening in this space and so many interesting people. And when I look at what I'm doing in my day job, when I'm doing in my life, like I just saw this as a very interesting hobby that got me to learn and grow. And so that kept me around. That just like kept me fascinated about the space. And as I dug deeper, I saw that there was more to this mountain. And I just thought it was fascinating. So I think that was the main thing that I learned. And then going through the different cycles, I think it's just a habit of understanding that you're gonna get rugged, you're gonna get scammed, but you're gonna also learn and meet some amazing people. You're gonna grow yourself, and you're gonna build some amazing skill sets that's gonna help you in the next stage of this like Web3 journey.
Yeah, awesome. And one of the things that stood out when we had a chance to connect a little while ago, it seems like it was just yesterday, but we were chatting. But you had mentioned talking about becoming, I would say, an expert or, someone
Mhm.
that really is good at something in the organization or within your particular role and how important that is when you're trying to make the transition to working in Web3. So bring us back a little bit about, maybe some of the lessons that you learned from when you were working at Plaid and how that was able to be transitioned to your current role.
Yeah. So taking a step back there, just for everybody to set the ground. So Plaid is, a large fintech, now very mature fintech company. At that time, very much Web 2. And so when I thought about my own role and where I wanted to be, Web3 and crypto was something that I was interested in. So what I did purposefully was build a brand around myself. And so to everyone else out there, you might be at a company that's very non-Web3, not very non-crypto, but more and more you're going to be working with people that are coming out of Web3. So what I did was a concerted effort to be the, the in-house expert for Web3, the in-house expert for crypto, so that whenever somebody had a question about crypto, they would come to Crypto Ken and say, "Hey, Crypto Ken, like, what's going on here? What is this? Can we actually work with them?" And so I really became an expert and built a brand for myself within Plaid to be a Web3 expert. And what that did was it allowed me to build relationships inside the company, but also externally. Um, to basically uh, position myself when new opportunities arise. So that's essentially what I did. I think it's really important to build that foundation of brand and expertise for yourself.
Nice, nice. And transitioning that too and turning what's your passion and your hobby into something where, you become that person in your friends group where everyone comes to you whenever there's a question about the space. And branding yourself is really important. So, when you got into your current role, help us understand a little bit about that. I mean, bring us up to speed too about what Crossmint's about, what the organization is, and how you fit into that puzzle.
Yeah, yeah. So Crossmint is basically we're trying to bring enterprises on chain. If you think about the world and where we're headed, Web3 is a very real thing. Crypto is here to stay. And we're the leading platform that's bringing enterprises on chain. And what that means is we're helping large enterprises uh, build wallets for their users. We're helping large enterprises tokenize and enable minting for different assets and different digital assets. And also, we're enabling them to on ramp very easily into Web3 with our checkout product. And so that's what we're doing. We work on a lot of big brands that many of you have heard of, brands like Red Bull. We work with a lot of musicians. Like we did a project with Snoop Dogg. We did a project with athletes like Pat Mahomes, for example. So yeah, it's a very incredible space, and we're doing a lot of interesting things in this space that people not might not be aware of.
And what are some of the biggest misconceptions that you feel people may have that
Trevor,
may.
you still there?
Oh yes, I am. So what's one of the biggest misconceptions that you would say that people probably outside of the space when you're trying to approach them that may not have worked in Web3 or understand the technology? What do you think is some of been the biggest challenges of trying to maybe I would say convert the organizations and companies that may not be familiar with it but are just kind of curious?
I think Web3 has definitely gone through its struggles. Um, and so as a result, there's an inherent bias to think that all of Web3, all of crypto is full of scams and scammers. I think that's just something that the industry within itself needs to like get over and prove ourselves and just prove to the entire world that we're here to build and we're here to build great products with utility and with value. So the biggest misconception that we're all scammers and we're all trying to rug people. And that's just simply not true because every day I'm working with real projects and real enterprises that are building utility and use cases for the masses. And I'll give you an example. We did this project with a very famous artist, Refik Anadol, where we raised $4 million for the Amazon, right? And that was with an NFT that tokenized his art, Rafik's art, um, to raise money for the Amazon. And so these are like real world use cases, real value that we're doing, instead of just like pumping a token, for example.
Yeah, yeah. And help me understand as well too, can maybe some other real world use cases or other uses for NFTs that people may not really be aware of or come to mind at first because over the last year or so, even mentioning NFT, right? There was this automatic assumption that it was something that was just, why would I need an NFT when I can just download a JPEG and it's something that only millionaires are using and to flip money over or something of that nature. So, what are some things that you envision for the future use cases of NFTs and the technology, and how that can better, I would say, create the user experience when it comes to some of the products that you're trying to offer?
Yeah, great question. We're experimenting with so many organizations every day. And so when I think about NFTs, it's number one, it's a new way for capital formation, a new way to raise money. I think that's like very clearly what happened 2 years ago. But I would take it beyond just JPEGs, right? Like the project I told you about where we raised $4 million for the Amazon. Um, we're working with artists, we're working with nonprofits, number one, to help do nonprofits raising money for different charities. So that's one. Two, artists can now directly interact with their clients and their fans very easily through NFTs, right? So like fan engagement is another thing. Um, Consumer brands like Coca-Cola, like Red Bull, who we work with, are now using NFTs to better engage their customers and better understand how they're interacting with different purchases, right? That's another thing. Third, loyalty. So we worked with Cinemax, which is a large movie theater chain in the US here, where they basically gave all of their premium members a NFT, a digital pass that represented them um, being a premium member at Cinemax. And what that allowed them to do then is take this digital pass inside of their wallet to any partner of Cinemax and get discounts, get rewards. So we're just scratching the surface of what's available here and what we're able to do with NFTs. And the world's so exciting. I think if you know, kind of is the gist.
Yeah.
Enterprises are experimenting in the space and are very focused and are doubling down in this space now that the hype cycle has died down a little bit.
Yes, the hype cycle.
Final use case that's very interesting is this concept of phygitals. And this is a weird term. Basically, it's a combination of physical and digital. And what phygitals are is basically creating a digital twin of a physical object. So think sneakers, think watches. Imagine you tokenize a luxury watch, right? And that token on the blockchain can represent ownership of that luxury Rolex, for example, or a um, Nike Jordan, for example, that you wear and represents like your brand and your profile as a person. So proof of authenticity and creating digital twins, that's another huge area that we're seeing in the fashion industry, in the luxury industry as well. So yeah, a lot of different use cases there. And I know I said a mouthful.
No, that's awesome. It's great because I think that people really, are maybe just not aware of the different use cases. And as you mentioned, the technology is just developing at such a fast pace. And that even leads us to what we had chatted about earlier, having special access to these different events. But I'm just kind of thinking about it right now from an analytical, perspective. When you're getting all these new data points and touch points from things that you're able to understand from your customer in a completely different way, I mean, how are organizations thinking about what you can even gain from that additional new knowledge that probably wasn't even available before in this typical kind of way with this technology?
Yeah, great question. So let me give you an example, Trevor.
Yeah.
I think this will like resonate with a lot of people. So all of you use consumer brands. Like think Coca-Cola. If you don't drink soda, think let's say something better like
Coconut
toothpaste,
water.
coconut water, or just water or toothpaste or any type of brand. What happens is these brands actually don't have a direct relationship and know what you do. So your favorite coconut water brand, they don't know Ken, they don't know Trevor as a user. What they do is they sell coconut water to the massive distributors, to these massive supermarkets that then sell to the users. As a result, a coconut brand doesn't know who their users are. They don't know how old Trevor is, what Trevor likes, what else Trevor likes to spend money on, when Trevor drinks coconut water. But with Web3, if you give them a digital wallet that brings that relationship closer from the end user to the brand, now the brand gets first party data on a user. And that's something that that's something that's never existed before. And that's something that is enabled by Web3 that is very powerful and every single consumer brand is looking at.
Amazing.
So yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Definitely for sure. Now, in terms of some of the different companies that you're working with, maybe you can help us understand how the importance of, you know, maintaining and building and really having a long-standing relationship. What has the impact of that been, not only in your role at Crossmint, but I would say in your success professionally over your career?
Yeah. I mean, Trevor, we talked about this, but it's everything's about relationships. Like we met because of our relationship. Like we
Yeah.
met, I think, randomly, and then we just kept in touch, and now we're here,
Yeah.
right? Um, so I would say even personally, career-wise, it's all about relationships, and then building these relationships with brands. It's all about long term. It's all about treating the person on the other side right and not taking short-term gains, but thinking about the long-term value that you can bring to each other. So yeah, I think relationships matter a lot. It's mattered in my own career. It's mattered excel in my current job. And I'll give you an example. I joined CrossMint now just hit 2 months. And when I joined, the first couple of weeks I'm onboarding. And what I'm doing besides meeting people internally is I'm hitting up my Rolodex, people that I've built relationships with before. And it's been incredible the help that I've been able to receive from different people in the industry that leads me to someone else that gets me to a new opportunity, right? Working with people that I've sold into before, working with people that I mentor before even, right? Now they're in a position where they're a buyer for me at a different organization. So I think relationships are so important and it's paramount to being successful anywhere you go.
Nice. And talk to me a little bit more about the culture there. I mean, I know that you were mentioning your hybrid team, that you have hubs across the world. Help us understand a little bit more about what makes CrossMint just a special culture and the mindset behind the team and how you all kind of collaborate with each other.
Yeah, great question. We are hybrid and we're spread out. Like crypto, it's global, it's 24/7. So we
Nice.
have people in pretty much every single continent, I would say. So we have a hub in New York, we have a hub in Miami, we have a hub in South America, we have a hub in Europe, and then we have different team members spread out across the world. And so as a result, I think we're on 24/7. Web3 moves so fast that you have to be on 24/7 because things change week to week. So our team is very dynamic, very fast moving. And I think the thing that really jumped out at me when I joined this team was how dedicated people are to their craft, in the sense that people are doing this because they love Web3, right? People are doing this because they find it's their hobby, but also they like it and they see value out of it. And they're making a bet with their time essentially on where they want to take the world. So people here are very mission driven. They're excellent at what they do in their field. And I think it's just a 24/7 like startup. So it's so exciting to be in that type of environment.
What's one of the big, like, and maybe building up on that a little bit more, but one of the, I would say, biggest pleasant surprises that you've had from pre working in Web3 to actually being able to work in this space for a while now?
It's I didn't realize the actual 24/7 nature of this. Um, and I'll give you an example. Last night, I was taking a call with a big enterprise in Japan. And then this morning, early, I have a call with Spain. And then tonight, I actually have a call with some folks in Dubai. And so it's 24/7. Um, everything everything's happening all at once. You have folks spread out all across the world, and it's just so exciting. And you have different geographic areas, you have different demographics, you have different industries, and so it's a constant like learning barrage. And a lot of people are interested in this space. So I think yeah, that's been like the most like exciting thing so far.
Nice, very cool. And I was just looking at some of your older posts as well
You went
too.
on mute. I think you came back, Trevor, and then you went
No,
on
I'm
mute.
here. I'm here. So I went on some of your other posts. I was checking that out, and I know that there are particular aspects of this industry that attracted you in the first place. Now, one is I believe that you have a mission for data ownership and access to that, and just overall technological empowerment. So, being in your current role, what are some of the things that you're doing to kind of make that happen?
Yeah. So Web3 is all about data empowerment. It's about shifting the dynamic around. I don't know if anyone else out there has read the book Rewrite Own, but it's putting that very clearly in the forefront, where the past 10, 15 years, it was the large tech companies like Google or Meta that owned your data and they took and monetized your data. But Web3 actually flips that around where the end users now can take that data where they want to, right? And really be able to make a say on how that data that you generate yourself is monetized. So we're day in and day out being very focused on how we can bring power back to the user in the sense of what we're building with wallets, right? Wallets is essentially a way for the end user to now control their assets, control their data. What we're building with minting, which is allowing you to tokenize any specific physical thing or digital asset and show that you own it and it's yours and it's something that nobody else can take away from you, right? So we're doing that every day. And then beyond that, we're doing a lot on the regulatory and data front and privacy front because it's very important also to fit in to the regulatory and current regime of the world and not just go like gun ho and do whatever you like, right? You have to fit into a current framework, what's currently accepted in the EU, for example, with GDPR, with different privacy standards. So we're doing a lot of work on that side to make sure that we're best in class in the space there.
Awesome. And in terms of that, just being able to be a global organization, I think that's another aspect of the space that's great because you are able to do business in so many different jurisdictions. How has that been for you? Some of the changes in I would say more crypto friendly environments and some of the ones that are a little bit more I would say caution taking caution and being a little bit more conservative when it comes to regulations. How has that impacted your business at all?
It definitely has impacted our business. So, for example, in the US, we're licensed to be an NFT business, but there are certain things that we can't do without proper regulatory licenses, which are we're exploring, right? So, example is tokenizing of securities, and this is what's been hot in the news of tokenization of ETFs, right? Bringing bitcoins as an ETF, but there's a lot more that goes into this. So that's an area that's very interesting. That when it comes to securities and when it comes to finance, there's a lot of nuance to things, and we want to make sure we do things right. In the EU, we already have our licenses, so we can operate um, like uh, like a financial institution and do a lot of different things in the EU. And in different countries, you have different regimes, you have different nuances that you have to take into account. I think as a whole, though, um, a lot of countries are open to this. You'll be surprised at how many governments are very welcome to Web3, are very welcome to this technology because they see the writing on the wall that this is the future. And if they don't innovate and they don't allow innovation in this space, then they're just going to get left behind. And they're just going to drive innovation somewhere else. And the prime example is the last couple of days, you saw the crypto law that was passed with a lot of support from both sides of the aisle in the US. And so I think even though the narrative in the media narrative is, the US government might be anti-crypto or anti-Web3, in actuality, you have a lot of players and a lot of prominent players from both sides, from all angles, all industries supporting this and seeing the value of this. And so I think it's a very important trend that's under the surface that a lot of people might not notice. But I would say just like follow the money, and a lot of money is going into back into the space, right?
Yeah.
Um, and follow what the prominent people are doing, not just what they're saying, but what they're actually doing in the
Yes,
space.
sage advice. And in terms of following the narratives. I know that this is something that you probably have to do for your professional career and personal well-being as well too, just to stay ahead of the curve. But talk to me about the importance of narratives, in this industry, and how hard it can be to predict the next one, or just the importance of just staying in the know when it comes to narratives around regulation or use cases of this technology and things like that.
Yeah. You mentioned personal well-being. I would say staying ahead of everything is maybe sometimes, um, goes against my personal well-being, right? Right. Especially like, I'll give you an example. Maybe 2 months ago, meme coin season was the
Yeah,
hottest thing,
yeah,
right? And so again, not financial advice, but just seeing the people around me and how caught up they were in the space, and friends that are staying up to like 2, 3 a.m. every night playing around with meme coins and then going to work the next morning. It was just fascinating. And I think this space is so immersive, you can just get wrapped up in it. And so staying up to beat with that, I think it's important, but also it's important to keep your mental health in check. Um, know what's important and know that things can come and go very quickly. So to the point of narratives, I think meme coins might have come and gone. I'm not sure. Um, Bitcoin ETF, that narrative might have come and gone, but we have other narratives that are popping up now, around the corner. I think NFTs as a utility is a very real narrative that's cooking under the surface that's going to become made really real soon. So that's one. RWAs, where we are tokenizing real world assets, that's a very real narrative as well. So those are some of the things I'm playing around with, that I'm thinking about. But yeah, the space is so exciting. I think there's like a million things happening at once at all times.
yeah, for sure. And also, too, I mean, I like to play devil's advocate a bit, right? So there are organizations and established industries that have been around for quite some time that may see this technology as disruptive, and they don't really want to welcome the new kid on the block, no matter how cool the toys are that everyone wants to play with. So, Ken, do you ever feel as if that there's lobbyists or other powers that be that may be trying to, get together and keep this type of technology out of the access of the masses, and kind of delay this as long as they possibly can, because it's maybe just inevitable, and they're very comfortable with making profits and having a particular amount of market share. And hey, some organizations, they may really enjoy having access to all of our user data, our data there, and may not necessarily welcome something that's completely decentralized. So do you ever think about that?
Yes, and I'll add another layer is all of these organizations that you think that are anti this space, um, they're also all experimenting and investing a lot of money in this space. I'll give you an example, like J, JP Morgan Chase. Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO, is pretty upfront in media about anti-crypto. But you actually look at what JP Morgan is doing, just look up JP Morgan blockchain. They actually are building their own blockchain. It's called Onyx blockchain, right? And they're partnered with like Visa and a lot of different banks to do something there. So they're very real, and they're putting money to it. So it's not just a mouthpiece saying we're anti-crypto, but in the background, they're making a lot of investments in this space because they see the dangers of this. So on one side, I do find it, um, I do find it that it sucks that a lot of people are still anti, Web3. But on the other side, I see what's happening. They're still building in this space. Maybe they're like up, being anti because they want to be a step ahead of some of the
Mm.
competitors. Um, but yeah, I think every single major organization, every single bank, every single major media company, every single tech company has a Web3 team and has a Web3 division that's very serious about this space. And if you don't believe me, literally just go to LinkedIn and type in whatever company, type in Web3, type in Google, type in digital assets. You're going to see multiple people on those teams. And that's just the public facing areas, right?
It's interesting that you said that. A few years ago, just obviously being in this industry, being in the business that we're in, I've just noticed the transition or the number, I would say the overall presence of crypto, blockchain, Web3 organizations that are on LinkedIn. It wasn't the same a few years ago, and just the amount of talent and people that are understanding that, hey, the traditional institutions, they're coming in, and they're playing in the space, whether it's public or not. And I think it's just a lot more public in terms of what people's intentions are. So this is another good transition, and then we'll get into some other things that you're working on as an organization before we do part ways here. But the overall importance of interoperability. We just talked about maybe some of the external forces that may be hindering, our industry and things of that nature. But when it comes to the people and the players that are already in our space, how important is interoperability to you, and how can we all really kind of connect and come together to help push this industry forward and make it more acceptable to the masses?
Yeah, I think it's so important. Each one of you, each one of us, we're users, but also we have a clear say on where this industry is developing because it's so young. Um, you and everyone out there can basically play a huge role in how this shapes. And so, to your point about interoperability, that interconnectedness, I think of interoperability as being able to connect to like being able to share data with each other, like seamless sharing, but also the connection within the network of people, right? And so, I would say if you come across like as a user, if you come across something interesting, share it with your friends, share your learnings, and then continue to do that because if you find value out of it, other people are. An example of this is a couple of years ago, right? Fintech was not a thing. Digital banking was not a thing. Where imagine like you told somebody, I'm gonna go open up a bank account on my app, and that bank account on my app, it's gonna allow me to receive my paycheck 2 days earlier. That was just inconceivable.
Mm.
But now it's pretty given. You can go on the App Store, download Chime, set up a bank account in 10 minutes, and set up a system where you can receive your check, like your payroll, 2 days earlier than if you banked at JP Morgan. And that's very real. And that shift is also coming with Web3 to this traditional world where, like, hopefully sooner than later, you're going to have normal people interacting with different applications, and they're not even going to know that it's Web3 behind it. They're just going to know that I was able to get this amazing value. I was able to own my own data, and I was able to like do all of these different things that might not have been inconceivable before, right? So I think that whole point, it's very real. So I think to your point about interoperability, right? Once the users start asking for it and start sharing, more and more organizations are going to get on, and that network's going to become much deeper, and it's going to allow us to build a much tighter and deeper ecosystem for us all to like exchange value with each other.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. So, folks, because we do have a little bit of a shorter time limit here today, anyone that has a question, if you would like to ask Ken, please raise your hand, or if you just want to jump in the conversation or bring some value here, we have Juan Carlos, so I'll bring you up. Trying to bring you up. There you are, Juan. Hello, how are
Perfect.
you?
I'm good, Trevor. Thanks so much again. Hey, Ken, you're awesome. I wrote down a lot of notes. I'm sure, thank you. Quick questions. What book should I read? I know you mentioned Read, Write, Own, and I think I just Googled that. I'm guessing that's by Chris Dixon.
Yep.
And then the other aspect, too, is what newsletters. And really, my situation, I had my existential crisis, followed the white rabbit, and now I'm like, okay, I need to dedicate myself to working on projects within the Web 3.0 ethical tech, democratizers. I realize I'm more like Han Solo than Luke Skywalker. I'm more of the Joker than Batman. So, really, what resources can we follow to that I can follow to really dive deep into this realm?
Yeah. Thank you for your question, Juan Carlos. I'm glad you've decided to take a step in this space. Everything, it's a journey for sure. And I would just say like just keep at it, and if I can help in any way, let me know. To your two questions about what books, so Rewrite Own is a good entryway into in understanding this space. So that book by Chris Dixon, it's great. The other book that takes it a little bit more back into the philosophy behind this is this book called The Sovereign Individual. This book was written in the 80s, but a lot of the ideas in there is becoming more and more true. What the book essentially says is, as an individual that starts becoming more sovereign, like owning your own data, owning your own means of production, owning your own means of capital, what does that mean in a world, right? In a modern age. And so it was written 30 plus years ago, but a lot of the ideas in there are ringing true. So I'll recommend that book. In terms of like people to follow in newsletters, I would say like you're in the right place. Trevor is the man. Like, follow him. Just Shilling, like every Friday we're here, and I think like this is a great resource to continue to like be on top of, as there's a lot of ideas being disseminated here. And then finally, I would say Twitter or X in this case can be very noisy, but I would say get on it and follow people, follow the people to respect, follow the projects they respect, and you'll go down that rabbit hole even more and find interesting projects that come up there. So that's what's been really helpful for me, at least. Trevor, maybe you want to add some stuff
No,
too.
also too, and when we had chatted, I mean, you had alluded to this a little bit earlier, but one of the things that really stood out about what you said was, doubling down and becoming the go-to person in your company when it comes to, anything that is, subject matter expert related when it comes to crypto, blockchain, or Web3. So maybe can you talk a little bit about maybe Ken how you did that, or were there any things that you did to let management know that you were interested in this particular area, and that if an opportunity came about that they should reach out to you about it? Like, how did you make your intentions known?
Yeah. So number one, I would say I became a avid user and just became an expert in the space. So be able to like walk the talk, be able to actually do things in the space. That's like very clear, and that's something that's very, I want to say easy to do, but the internet is free. All of this information's out there. Get on YouTube if you don't, like watch videos, read books, like listen to these podcasts, and you will learn really quickly. And then start using the products, start participating in these communities, because a lot of these communities are open source. You can get on Telegram, you can get on Discord to get involved. And then finally, how I made it known to management was I just started bringing crypto business. I just started working with Web3. I started bringing business into the organization that was related. And so after a while, they just saw the trend. And so we're now a majority of our revenue comes from Web3, and it all comes from Ken. Maybe there's something here, right? So that's one thing, right? Speak very loudly with your actions and with what you're able to do. And then finally, when you're having conversations with your manager, your leader, make it known that you're interested in this space and you're an expert in this space and you're an expert at the company in this space. And if you put the idea out there, it's going to have room to ruminate and grow. And it might not be a 1 day or a 1 week thing, but it'll grow into something. As more and more people know you for your brand and what you're about, opportunities will arise. And I think what I did was I planted a seed. I did a lot of work, and that seed just basically grew. And when the right opportunity came, I was ready to jump on it. Right. So that's what I did, Trevor.
Ken, it sounds like you manifested it, my friend. I love that. I love that. And maybe also too, what's one sentence of kind of maybe where your mind was last year this time versus kind of what your sentiment is this year, this exact moment?
Hmm, that's hard. Last year, I was searching. I would say searching for the next thing, because I knew I wanted to get deeper into this space. So I would say that was it. This year, I'm building, because now I'm working in Web3 now, very, very clearly. I'm
Yes.
working in Web3. Now it's time to put my head down and just grind and do the hard work and make things a reality.
Yes, I love that. And this is a perfect transition for your last few minutes that you're here and talking about building and growing. So I know that your organization, that you are in growth mode. So tell us a little bit about some of the opportunities that you're working on, that one and any other specifically, Ken, and then also wrap it up about, how people should get in touch with you, what's the best way that people can follow, Crossmint and what's going on with, your roadmap, and if there are any opportunities for, interns or volunteer opportunities, or just the best ways that we can all continue to come together and, apply some of the stuff that we're talking about today into actual real world actionable items.
For sure. Please follow us on whatever social channel you like, on Twitter, LinkedIn. We're available. So follow us, crossmint.com. We're there. Follow, reach out to me too if you have any questions. We're hiring for pretty much every single role: engineers, customer success, salespeople. We have a role also that we're very focused on, um, for someone to lead our Japan office and be the head of Asia. We have a lot of large brands that you all know that are Japanese multinational brands that are interested in this space. So we need somebody to be on the grounds there to handle those relationships. So every single role we're hiring for, if you're interested, please reach out. We'd love to chat with you. We'd love to see if it could be a good fit. Um, we're in all time zones. We're in all geographies. So if you're interested and you think it's a good fit, like don't think that, oh, I'm, they're in the U.S. or they're in a geography that I'm in, maybe it's not a good fit. I would say, like, take a look at our roles and reach out if you have any questions. We're excited to talk with all of you all.
Yes, I love that, Ken, and being proactive and taking what you want, go out there and make the first move for sure. And are there any other tips in terms of just maybe people and being noticed, right? In this space, there's so many people that are trying to make this transition, and I'm pretty sure that you get outreach and you get messages on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. What are some tips, or I would say maybe what are some of like the best messages or just ways that people reached out to you that resonated with you the best, that really kind of made you want to take time out of your day to even converse and have a conversation in the first place?
Yeah, I think we're, as a whole, like, it's very true for CrossFit, but in general, we're very attracted to excellence and excellent people. So maybe you're not in the space and you haven't been in the space, but if you can show that you've accomplished great things in another industry or in something else, it could be totally unrelated, like sharing that experience there and saying that I did this already, and I think some of this can be transferred to what you're doing at CrossFit. We're open to hear all of that. And the reason why I say that is, like, our team is a conglomerate of a lot of different people. Like, we have somebody that was super into meditation and they're an expert in meditation. We have some Guinness World Record holders. We have some like ex-athletes. So whoever, like, we have a lot of different types of people. I think just think about like what you've, like, anybody out there does it, like what you've achieved, what you've excelled at, and if you can showcase that, we're excited to hear from you, because a lot of these things inside Web3, inside crypto, we can teach you. And I know if these things can be learned, but we want to show that we want to meet people that are motivated and excelled in other industries as well.
Awesome. Well, that is a great way to close it out, Ken. This has been an amazing conversation. I told you that it would go by quickly, and I'm glad that we got some participation from some folks in the audience. That was great questions and great information that you've imparted with us today. So, folks, Ken, thank you again for your time. We will be back again with another episode of Just Shilling here, continuing to bring great guests and great content as always. And we're also going to be getting some of these episodes uploaded on YouTube, so stay tuned for that. I know that's something that's been long in the works, but we are in the process of that as well too. So if folks if you have any questions or anything like that, please do bring it to next time. We're going to have to end a little bit early here today. But Ken, once again, thank you so much. Be on the lookout for some clips of this conversation and stay tuned for more. Have a great Friday and enjoy your weekend, everyone. Take care. Bye.